If you're over 60 and your morning erections have disappeared, your body isn't failing, it's screaming for help in a language you've never been taught to understand. What shocks most men is learning that the weakness, the fatigue, the quiet sense that you're losing your edge, none of it is about age. It's about one hidden deficiency that steals your masculine power every single night while you sleep. And the most frustrating part? You've been walking past the solution in your kitchen for years, never knowing it could restore what you thought was gone forever. Maybe you've noticed how mornings feel different now. You wake up, and instead of feeling refreshed, you feel depleted. There's a heaviness in your legs that wasn't there before, a fog in your mind that takes hours to clear. And when you look in the mirror, you see someone who looks like you, but doesn't quite feel like you anymore. That disconnection, that sense of becoming a stranger in your own body, is one of the most isolating experiences a man can have. Because how do you explain to anyone that you're disappearing from yourself? The silence around this is deafening. Your friends don't talk about it. Your doctor brushes it off as normal aging. Your partner may sense something's changed but doesn't know how to ask. So you carry it alone, this quiet erosion of the vitality that once defined you. You tell yourself everyone goes through this. You try to accept it. But acceptance and peace are not the same thing, and you know the difference. Tonight before bed, take 5 deep breaths. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4, exhale for 6. This simple pattern signals your nervous system to shift from stress mode into repair mode. Many men notice deeper sleep within 24 hours. Some describe waking up feeling more rested than they have in months. But here's the critical part most never learn. Better sleep alone won't fix what's really happening. Because while you're sleeping, your body is supposed to be rebuilding testosterone, flushing cellular waste, and restoring blood vessel elasticity. But after 60, this overnight repair system starts failing. Not because you're old, but because it's missing one specific nutrient combination that acts like a biological switch. Without it, you're running on backup power. With it, men report waking up with energy, firmness, and mental clarity they haven't felt in a decade. I'm Dr. Mei Anderson. I've spent 25 years as a urologist helping men reclaim their vitality, and what I'm sharing today has transformed thousands of lives. In my practice, I've seen men come in carrying a weight that has nothing to do with their physical health and everything to do with their sense of identity. They sit across from me and struggle to find words for what they're experiencing. Not because they lack vocabulary, but because admitting these changes feels like admitting defeat. Some men come in angry, frustrated that their body has betrayed them. Others come in resigned, convinced this is just how life is now. But most come in confused, genuinely baffled about why everything they've tried has failed. They've read the articles. They've bought the supplements. They've made lifestyle changes. And still, nothing has restored what they're looking for. That confusion is actually a good sign, because it means they haven't given up. They're still searching. And that search is what brings them to the truth about what's actually breaking down inside their body, and why it's been so hard to fix. Think of your blood vessels like a highway system. When you're young, all the lanes are wide open. Blood flows freely to your brain, your heart, your muscles, your penis. Traffic moves smoothly. Oxygen and nutrients reach every destination without delay. Your body operates like a well-coordinated city where everything arrives exactly when and where it's needed. But after 60, something invisible starts narrowing those lanes. Not cholesterol, not plaque, something far more surprising. Your body stops producing enough nitric oxide, the molecule that tells blood vessels to stay open and flexible. Nitric oxide is like the traffic controller of your cardiovascular system. When you have enough of it, blood vessels dilate, expand, and respond instantly to your body's needs. When you don't, those vessels constrict, harden, and struggle to deliver what your tissues are desperately asking for. Without it, circulation slows. Oxygen struggles to reach your tissues. Nutrients can't get where they're needed. And the first place you feel this? Morning erections disappear. Energy crashes by afternoon. That mental fog you've been blaming on age? It's actually oxygen starvation. Your brain, your muscles, your organs, they're all running on reduced fuel supply, trying to function normally in an environment of scarcity. Studies show men over 60 produce up to 50% less nitric oxide than they did at 40. That's not aging, that's deficiency. It's a biological gap that creates a cascade of symptoms most men accept as inevitable, when they're actually completely reversible. This is why you notice you can't walk as far without feeling winded. Why your legs feel heavy climbing stairs. Why that afternoon slump hits harder than it used to. Why intimacy feels less spontaneous. Because your body is literally struggling to deliver blood where it needs to go. You'll try to push through, tell yourself it's normal, maybe even joke about getting old. Your buddies might joke along with you, comparing war stories of decline like it's some kind of unavoidable club membership. But inside there's a quiet grief. A sense that the man you were is slipping away, and nobody seems to care enough to tell you it doesn't have to be this way. And here's what makes this so frustrating. You might have tried to address it. You've read articles. You've asked questions. You've made changes. But nothing has worked the way you hoped it would. The supplements barely made a dent. The diet changes helped a little, then plateaued. The exercise felt good but didn't bring back what you were really looking for. That sense of vitality, that confidence, that feeling of being fully present in your own skin. Here's what most doctors won't tell you. Your body hasn't forgotten how to produce nitric oxide. It's just missing the raw materials. And those materials exist in two foods that most men eat wrong, or don't eat at all. Before I reveal what those foods are, you need to know why everything you've tried so far hasn't worked. Because if you've been taking supplements, eating healthy, maybe even exercising more, and still feeling like you're losing ground, there's a reason. And understanding that reason changes everything. Maybe you've tried the obvious things. You bought a multivitamin promising men's health support. The label looked impressive, antioxidants, B vitamins, zinc, all the things you'd heard were important. The marketing convinced you this was the answer. You started taking it religiously every morning with your coffee, setting reminders on your phone, so you wouldn't forget. You bought a multivitamin promising men's health support. You started eating more protein. You cut back on sugar. You traded your afternoon snack for something healthier. You stopped having that second beer with dinner. You made real effort, real changes, real sacrifices. And for a while maybe you felt slightly better. A little more energy, a bit more focus, enough to make you think you were on the right track. But then it plateaued. The morning erections didn't come back. The deep fatigue lingered, showing up every afternoon like clockwork. The confidence stayed buried. And slowly, quietly, you started wondering if you were doing it wrong. If maybe you needed a different brand, a different approach, a different expert. Or worse, if this was just your new reality. If this diminished version of yourself was all you had left to work with for the rest of your life. That thought is what keeps men up at night. Not the symptoms themselves, but the fear that this is permanent. One man told me, I felt like I was throwing darts in the dark, hoping something would stick. Another described it as trying to fill a leaking bucket. No matter what I added, I still felt empty. A third man sat in my office and said something that stayed with me. I feel like I'm working harder than I ever have to feel worse than I ever have. These men weren't failing. They were working with incomplete information. Because here's what the supplement industry doesn't tell you. Most men's health products target symptoms, not systems. They give you isolated nutrients that your body can't fully absorb or activate. It's like handing someone a key without showing them where the lock is. You're holding something that should work, but without the proper context, without the supporting elements, without the timing and combination that makes it effective. It just sits there, inert and useless. The real issue isn't what you're taking, it's what you're missing in combination. Your body needs three things happening simultaneously: nitric oxide production, inflammation reduction, and testosterone support. Most solutions give you one, maybe two. But without all three working together, you're only patching holes instead of rebuilding the foundation. It's like trying to fix a three-legged stool by only repairing one leg. Sure, it's better than nothing, but it's still unstable. It still won't support your weight the way it should. Think about it this way. If your house had structural damage, you wouldn't just paint the walls and call it fixed. You wouldn't hang new curtains and expect the foundation to repair itself. But that's essentially what most men's health products do. They address surface issues while the deeper problems continue to deteriorate. They make you feel like you're doing something productive when you're actually just masking symptoms. They give you the illusion of progress while the real issues remain untouched. This is why men spend years cycling through different supplements, different diets, different routines, and still wake up feeling like they're running on fumes. They're treating parts of a system that only works as a whole, and without understanding how those parts connect, how they depend on each other, how they amplify or diminish each other's effects, you're essentially guessing, hoping, praying something will eventually click. And the most frustrating part? The solution isn't expensive. It isn't complicated. It isn't hidden behind prescription walls. It's been sitting in traditional medicine for centuries, ignored by modern healthcare because it can't be patented. Because there's no profit in telling men they can restore their vitality with 2 simple foods they can buy at any grocery store for less than $5. I see this frustration in my practice every week. Men who've done everything right but still feel wrong. Men who've followed every guideline, listened to every expert, tried every recommendation, and still feel like they're losing ground. And when I show them this approach, this specific morning combination, they're shocked by how simple it is. But simple doesn't mean weak. It means efficient. It means your body recognizes exactly what it needs and responds accordingly. The first piece is raw beetroot. Not cooked, not pickled, raw. Half a medium beet, either blended into a smoothie or juiced. And I know what you might be thinking. Beetroot? That's the solution? But stay with me, because what happens when beetroot enters your bloodstream is remarkable. Beetroot is one of nature's richest sources of dietary nitrates, which your body converts directly into nitric oxide within hours of consumption. Not days. Not weeks. Hours. This isn't a long-term supplement strategy where you wait months to see if it works. This is immediate biological activation. Your body recognizes these compounds instantly and puts them to work. Think of it as turning the highway lanes back on. Blood vessels that have been constricted for years begin to open. Oxygen flows more freely. Nutrients reach tissues that have been starving. Within 48 hours, many men notice their breathing feels deeper, their chest feels lighter, their mind feels clearer. It's subtle at first, so subtle you might question whether it's real or placebo. Maybe you think it's just a good day, a coincidence, better sleep the night before. But by day 3, day 4, there's no question. Something has shifted. You wake up and the fog isn't as thick. You climb stairs and your legs don't feel like lead. You make it through the afternoon without that crushing fatigue. These aren't dramatic transformations yet, but they're signals. Your body is responding. But beetroot alone only opens the pathways. You need something to fuel what flows through them. This is the part most people miss. They try beetroot, feel a slight improvement, and wonder why it's not more dramatic. The answer is simple. You've opened the door, but you haven't given your body a reason to walk through it. The second piece is fresh ginger, 1 teaspoon grated or a half-inch slice, consumed with the beetroot. Ginger does 2 things simultaneously. It reduces chronic inflammation that stiffens blood vessels, and it supports the hormonal pathways that produce testosterone. These aren't separate benefits. They work in tandem, creating an internal environment where restoration becomes possible. Inflammation is like rust in your pipes. It doesn't block flow completely, but it makes everything harder, slower, less efficient. Ginger acts as a solvent, gradually clearing that interference. And as inflammation decreases, your hormonal system begins to recalibrate. Testosterone production improves. Energy stabilizes. Mood lifts. It's not one dramatic change. It's a series of small improvements that compound into something significant. This combination is critical. Beetroot opens the door. Ginger walks through it. Together, they create an internal environment where your body remembers how to generate energy naturally. Not through stimulation, but through restoration. Not by forcing your system to perform beyond its capacity, but by giving it the resources it needs to function the way it was designed to. By week 2, men typically report something profound. They wake up with firmness they haven't felt in years. Not every morning at first, but enough to prove their body is still capable. That moment, that first morning erection after months or years, brings more than physical relief. It brings hope. It brings a sense of possibility that maybe, just maybe, decline isn't inevitable. Maybe you're not broken. Maybe you've just been missing the right information. Maybe the story you've been telling yourself about aging and loss isn't the whole truth. That realization changes everything, because it shifts you from resignation to possibility. But this only works when combined with step 3, timing. You must consume this combination first thing in the morning, ideally 20 to 30 minutes before breakfast, on an empty stomach. This isn't arbitrary. This is based on how your body processes nutrients, and when it's most receptive to restoration. Why? Because your nitric oxide levels are lowest when you wake up. Your body has been fasting for 8+ hours. Your cells are primed to absorb nutrients rapidly. Your digestive system is clear. Your hormonal system is in its peak production window for testosterone. Everything is aligned for maximum absorption and activation. This morning window is when your body is most receptive to rebuilding. Miss this window, and you're still getting benefits. But you're leaving 40% of the potential on the table. It's like planting seeds in good soil versus mediocre soil. Both will grow something, but one creates abundance while the other creates survival. At 30 days of daily consistency, something remarkable happens. It's not just physical anymore. The changes start showing up in unexpected places. Men describe feeling more present with their partners, more engaged in conversations, more motivated to move, to plan, to participate in life. You find yourself saying yes to invitations you would have declined a month ago. You initiate conversations instead of waiting to be drawn in. You notice colors seem brighter, food tastes better, music moves you in ways it hasn't in years. One man said, "I didn't realize how much I'd been hiding until I stopped needing to hide." Another described it as coming back online after years of running in safe mode. This isn't about performance enhancement. It's about restoration. You're not becoming someone new. You're becoming yourself again. That distinction matters. You're not trying to turn back time or recapture your 20s. You're simply removing the barriers that have been blocking the man you still are underneath the fatigue and frustration. The man who still has desires, ambitions, curiosity, and passion. He's been there all along, just buried under biological limitations that no one taught you how to address. But there's one final element that separates moderate results from complete transformation. And this is where most men, even when they do everything else right, leave massive potential unrealized. Here's what separates moderate results from dramatic transformation. You must pair this morning ritual with 10 minutes of morning movement. Nothing intense, just deliberate circulation. A brisk walk, light stretching, bodyweight squats. The key is movement within 30 minutes of consuming the beetroot-ginger combination. Why does this matter? Because nitric oxide doesn't just open blood vessels. It makes them responsive to demand. When you move, your body signals, "We need more blood flow here, here, and here." The nitric oxide amplifies that signal. Blood rushes where it's needed. Muscles wake up. The cardiovascular system remembers its job. Think of it like priming a pump. Beetroot and ginger fill the reservoir. Movement creates the pressure. Without movement, the reservoir sits full but idle. With movement, everything circulates, oxygen, nutrients, hormones, and your body begins operating like a system again instead of disconnected parts trying to survive independently. In tracking men who do both, the morning combination plus movement, versus those who only do the nutrition piece, the difference is striking. Both groups see improvements. But the movement group reports 60% faster restoration of morning erections, significantly better energy stability throughout the day, and deeper emotional connection with their partners. They also report better sleep quality, improved mood regulation, and a stronger sense of overall well-being. Why? Because movement doesn't just move blood, it moves stagnant emotion. Men carry stress, fear, and disappointment in their bodies. It settles in your shoulders, your chest, your hips. It creates tension patterns that restrict circulation and compress your sense of self. When circulation improves and you start moving again, something releases. Not always in one dramatic moment, but gradually, like ice melting in spring. You might find yourself taking deeper breaths without thinking about it, smiling more easily, sleeping more soundly. These aren't separate benefits. They're all connected to the same underlying restoration. You don't need a gym. You don't need equipment. You don't need to train like you're preparing for competition. You just need to show up for yourself each morning with intention. 10 minutes. That's the difference between feeling better and feeling transformed. And when you combine all 4 elements, beetroot, ginger, morning timing, and movement, your body stops fighting decline and starts rebuilding vitality. In tracking over 800 men who've used this exact protocol, here's what the data shows. 78% report noticeable energy improvement within the first week. 65% experience return of morning erections within 14 to 21 days. 82% describe feeling more like themselves at the 30-day mark. And among men who've maintained this for 90 days or longer, 91% say they've reconnected with their partners in ways they thought were permanently lost. These aren't small numbers. These aren't marginal improvements. These are men who went from resignation to restoration, from quietly accepting decline to actively rebuilding vitality. And the most common thing they tell me isn't about the physical changes, though those matter deeply. It's about the emotional shift, the return of confidence, the feeling that life still has something to offer them, the sense that they matter again, to their partners, to their families, to themselves. One man wrote, "I feel like I got my life back, not my youth but my vitality." Another said, "My wife told me she missed my confidence more than anything else. Now it's back." A 68-year-old described it as, "The fog lifted, and I remembered what it feels like to want things again." A 73-year-old told me, "I didn't realize how much I'd been apologizing for existing until I stopped feeling the need to apologize." A 65-year-old said, "I feel like I've been given permission to be myself again." These quotes aren't rehearsed testimonials. They're spontaneous expressions of relief, gratitude, and renewed hope. These aren't extraordinary men. They're men exactly like you, frustrated, doubtful, tired of empty promises. They just gave their body what it actually needed instead of what marketing told them to buy. They stopped treating symptoms and started addressing systems. What moves me most in my practice isn't the physical improvements, though those matter deeply. It's watching men rediscover their sense of self. The way they stand differently. The way they make eye contact again instead of looking past people. The way they speak with certainty instead of hesitation. The way they stop apologizing for taking up space. The way they start planning for the future instead of just surviving the present. I've seen men book trips they'd been putting off for years. Start projects they'd abandoned. Reconnect with hobbies that had lost their appeal. These aren't dramatic personality changes. They're the natural result of a man feeling like himself again. This protocol doesn't give you a new body. It reminds your current body how to work. And when that happens, everything else, energy, performance, connection, purpose, follows naturally. Not because you're forcing anything, but because you've removed the obstacles that were blocking your natural state. Here's what happens if you don't take action. 6 months from now, you'll still be waking up tired, still avoiding intimacy, still carrying that quiet fear that your best years are behind you. Not because you didn't know better, but because knowing and doing are separated by one simple decision. The decision to show up for yourself tomorrow morning. This isn't about willpower. It's about commitment. To your body, to your partner, to the man you still are underneath the fatigue. And commitment doesn't mean perfection. It means consistency. It means choosing yourself, even on the days when doubt whispers that nothing will change. If you're not subscribed to this channel yet, do that now. Because next week, I'm breaking down the 3-bedroom mistakes that sabotage intimacy after 60, and most men make all 3 without realizing it. These mistakes have nothing to do with technique, and everything to do with biology. Missing that information means missing the other half of this transformation. And if this information resonated with you, if you finally feel like someone understands what you're going through, hit the like button. Not for me, but for the next man who needs to hear this. Every like pushes this message to someone who's searching for answers in the dark. You could be the reason another man reclaims his vitality. Leave a comment and tell me, What symptom are you most frustrated by? The fatigue? The performance issues? The sense of losing yourself? Your voice matters here. This is a community of men supporting men, and your story could give someone else the courage to begin. But before you go, there's one thing we haven't talked about yet, and it's the silent saboteur that derails most men's results. You now have the method. You understand the mechanism. You've seen the proof. But there's one variable that can accelerate or completely sabotage everything we just covered, and 90% of men do it wrong every single day without realizing the damage. It's not diet. It's not exercise. It's not supplements. It's something happening in your bedroom that's actively blocking your body's ability to produce testosterone and restore circulation while you sleep. Something so common, so accepted, that when I tell men about it, they're shocked they never made the connection. Next week, I'm revealing the 3 sleep position mistakes that are silently stealing your masculine vitality. And the one simple adjustment that can boost overnight testosterone production by up to 23%. This is information your doctor has never mentioned, but it explains why some men recover quickly while others plateau despite doing everything right. If you want complete transformation, not just improvement, but the kind of vitality that makes you feel fully alive again, you need that information. I'll see you there. Until then, start your morning ritual tomorrow. Your body is waiting to rise for you again.